Bob Fryer here in the AAPEX studios. Again, a big thank you to our sponsors, Repairify and Great Water 360 Auto Care. We are joined right now by Evaristo Garcia. He is with Integrate Data Facts. Good to see you, sir.
Hey, Bob.
Good to see
you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So we're talking about why Latin America has somehow become a hot market for auto parts. Why do you think that is?
Well, Latin America has a high average age of vehicles. In most countries is above 15 years, which is much higher than the US. For example, the US is around 12 years. So when you consider the vehicles there are normally above 15 years average, they need more parts, they need more repairs, you know. People have to take them to be repaired more often.
So it's the parts going to Latin America, not that we're taking them out of.
No.
There's a demand that going down there.
The other thing is also, there's a lot of vehicles in Latin America. When you just think about light vehicles, there's 128 million light vehicles in Latin America. That's a lot. And that's just light vehicles. But in a region that has an orography, and I mean orography, not geography,
I hear you.
where you have the big mountains, you know, the Andean mountains and all of the mountain chains. It's very hard, for example, to have a railroad.
Yes.
So they rely a lot on medium and heavy trucks to transport all of the materials and goods. So the population of medium and heavy trucks is also significantly higher as a percent of the population than in other countries, say as the US, where the railroad is used so much for cargo.
Yeah.
And on top of that, motorcycles, it's crazy.
How many there are?
There are probably around 50 million motorcycles in Latin America. You have countries like Colombia, where there's over 10 million motorcycles.
Yeah.
And Mexico is getting close also to that number.
Is that because of the road system, that it's easier to navigate with a motorcycle than with a car, or what do you think the reason for that is?
I think it's a combination of several factors. I think one, motorcycles obviously are much cheaper than cars.
Fair.
The other is also the fuel economy.
Okay.
Like you can ride a bunch of miles with 1 gallon of gasoline in a motorcycle. And the third also, the weather. Like if you go, for example, for Mexico City, you never have snow.
Fair. Yep.
You can ride your motorcycle almost any day of the year. Obviously you have rain and a little bit of cold weather. So it's that. And obviously the per capita income in Latin America is much lower than in the US. So the investment to have a motorcycle, it just makes so much economic sense in those countries.
You mentioned the topography of Latin America and that it creates, difficulties in getting. Does that increase the difficulty in getting the parts down there? Meaning, is maybe cost prohibitive, or is that not the case?
Well, we really don't research the cost of logistics.
Okay.
We do research VIO, like how many vehicles there are, how many trucks there are, things like that. So I can tell you that as a percent, for example, in Mexico, when you look at the whole VIO, medium and heavy trucks are perhaps 3% of the whole pie, just in number of vehicles. Okay?
Right.
Where maybe in another country like Colombia, perhaps it's 6%, meaning it's almost double the penetration or double the size of the slice. The number of medium and heavy trucks in Colombia, because they really rely a lot on medium and heavy trucks to move goods and cargo.
What could a company do if they're looking to invest beyond the borders? Is there something that they should focus on to make that happen?
They can focus on so many things. I can tell you a couple of things they can focus on. Even I can tell you a couple of things that they can not focus on. Okay.
Let's focus on the things they should do.
That you can do. Well, first, most of these countries are either gasoline or a little bit of diesel. Like hybrids is an example of something you don't focus on, because hybrids is really not going that well in Latin America.
Okay.
It's super expensive, and I already said people are very sensitive to prices down there. So you can focus on gasoline vehicles, diesel vehicles, even flex vehicles. In a country like Brazil, they have a lot of flex vehicles, which is gasoline or alcohol.
Okay.
So you can focus on gasoline, alcohol, diesel.
And then what else?
The other thing you can focus on, as I said, is motorcycles.
You're right.
When you have a region that has, like, say, 50 million motorcycles,
Mm-hmm.
you should not ignore motorcycles, because not only there is a lot of motorcycles, but they are growing at 3 or 4 times the speed than cars.
Okay.
So that would be another good example.
Evaristo, thank you so much. We appreciate you coming in today.
Thank you so much for having me, Bob. It's my pleasure.
You bet. And again, we want to thank all of our sponsors, Repairify and Great Water 360 Auto Care. You can check them out down at Joe's Garage on the first floor. I'm Bob Fryer here in the AAPEX studio.